Do you recall when you heard metal music for the first time?
Yeah, I was really young actually because my sister had different kind of records, and she was quite older than me. She had like Led Zeppelin, for instance, and a few other records, you know, and so in my childhood I was like trying to catch whatever was out there. After, you know, Walt Disney, Mary Poppins and all that thing, I switched to Led Zeppelin, and then I went to the whole collection and with the Beatles and everything, and so it was not metal, but I mean it was rock, and I was completely sort of like captured by the sound of it and the style, and I was looking at the pictures and the album covers, and I was mesmerized by that old world that was out there, and I suddenly wanted to do that. It was like something almost unreachable, you know, when you're a child and you figure out, oh, there's something out there that really captured my attention. But so yeah, it was the first connection with my sister's album.
So was like Led Zeppelin the kind of band that made you become a musician, or how did that happen?
Well, we're from a small town, and I met a few friends that were into metal or rock at school, and I recall meeting my drummer Michel, and because he loved Kiss, and we had a common friend that didn't like Kiss at all. And he said, well, you guys, you know, should hang out together because you like the same kind of band. And so I met Michel there and at school, and a few years later we're in college, and he said to me, hey, I play with Denis D'Amour, and Denis D'Amour was already a legend in our hometown because he was a famous guitar player, and his name was just like all over the place. And I said, oh really, you play with them, you play drums? And yeah, we're starting something and we're looking for a singer. And I was doing improvisation. I was doing into theatrical act at school, and he saw one of my performance, and he really liked it. He said, I can picture you as a singer. I said, I don't know how to sing. I never really had a microphone in my hand. And he said, would you like to give it a try one day? And I said, sure. But I had no expectation, nothing. I said, I'm gonna try a few things, and we did a cover, a song from Judas Priest that I tried to learn because my English was absolutely really terrible, and so we did, and met the guy and everything, and apparently it went well because they called me a week later, and they said, would you like to try another song and different songs? So I went again, and then they said, you're the guy, you're the one who would like to have you as a singer. And then it started right there, and 40 years later, here I am.
So was Voivod the sort of like first proper band that you had, or did you have bands already before Voivod?
No, it was my first experience ever, and I was really intimidated because Denis D'Amour was such a well-known name, and I was like kind of like freaking out because I said I'm never going to be good as but it was we're from a small town, so there was not many option, I guess, for them. And then I decided to give it a try, and we started up the band, and and it went really fast. It's just like after a few months we had a record deal, and then boom, we had a compilation song on Metal Massacre 5, number 5, and then we had a contract for a full record, and that was War and Pain. And from that point on, we caught that wave of thrash metal, and we became international really quickly. And from our small town in Jonquière, Quebec, northern Quebec, we had offers to play in New York City with Venom and Cro-Mags, and it's like, wow, you know, it was jumping in the bus, and so it went really fast as we started up.
So what kind of like early memories do you have when it comes to singing? Were you first like singing covers and sort of like mimicking your idols before figuring out your own way to do things, or how did you shape the vocals that you have today?
That's a good question, because you know, I didn't have any experience as a singer, and you know, I thought it was not really that good, and one, you know, I was trying, like you said, sort of like imitating one and another, and but you know, between Rob Alford and Paul Di'Anno and the Sex Pistols and all these sort of like vocal, sometimes I was confused, like, okay, what should how am I gonna reach out for my own thing? And once I remember Piggy told me that you know, it's like, try to get a sound like a beast, or like like some sort of like a creature, and stick with it. And then I thought it was a really good idea. So I tried to invent my own sort of sound from that particular thinking. You don't have to be like a really virtuoso in the singing to get attention. I think if you create your own beast inside, that's what I was focusing on, and from that point on, it became sort of like more easier for me to develop my own style.
So how long did it take for you to sort of like figure out the right technique for the singing, so that you didn't lose your voice when you were doing the more like high-pitched vocals?
It's funny, because I was really young, and my voice was not, you know. Yeah. So it became. I remember the first record, I was like singing, screaming more than singing. And then on the third record, I started to, you know, we had more complex structures, and I had to do with the timing a lot, you know, and that was really hard to catch with the timing, and that, I think that's what happened. Is just like I developed the singing, the sound of the singing, and the timing. That was really important in Voivod, I think, because it became more complex music. And I sort of like developed my own way of singing, but I never sounded exactly the same on every record, like as time went by, and you know, I was trying to be a little bit more sophisticated in some places, and I developed different kind of singing as well. More like not only screaming, but more like sometimes different part, more like a robot sometimes, more like murmurs, you know. And I developed all kind of different vibe to it, but it was more like creating character in my head, you know. Like it would be like a movie, and then this guy is talking and the other guy is talking, and it's like two different kind of voice, or 3 or 4, you know, in the same song. And so I was inventing almost like different character, and And I think it worked well for me to develop these kind of singing, you know.
So obviously, like you said, the band became like international quite fastly. So what kind of like early memories you have when it comes to the first proper tours that you did? Were you like stamina-wise ready to do like show after show after show after show? And did you learn anything from those first tours that you did?
Well, we were pretty excited, and we were young and crazy.
The normal stuff.
Yeah. I remember the Celtic Frost tour in the U.S. That was one of the, you know, the big tour, the first big tour that we had to do in the USA, and I recall so many things like. But most of it was like it was in the 80s, and everything was crazy back then, you know. I remember like after show, like there was about 10 cars following us to the cheap motel that we had, and everybody was jumping in the pool. There was a party every night, and what I learned is like, oh my God, you know, back then I was young, I could do it.
But not maybe today anymore.
No, not today anymore, I guess. And but it was, the 80s was absolutely fantastic for that. Everything was permitted. There was no restrictions whatsoever. We could do anything that we wanted, and we were traveling like. You know, we had a bus, but sometimes I was jumping in the merchandise truck to drive with someone else, one of the crew, and you know, crossing the desert in the middle of nowhere, and it was really fun. It was an experience for a young guy. You know, it was like, oh my God, you know, this is crazy. I thought that we were making it, you know, like, oh my God, yeah, touring the U.S. and, you know, and it was fun. It was really fun. And, but I discovered that, you know, I had certain limits to respect.
Yeah, for sure.
In order to continue, yeah.
Are there like some specific foods or drinks that you have felt that they help you with the singing stuff, or on the opposite side, some foods or drinks that you have felt that they harm you with the singing, so that you don't want to take them before the shows?
Not really. I never really had anything. The only thing I had to pay attention is like not eating before the show, like at least 3 hours before, and because when you're stuffed, there's nothing that's gonna come out.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
So hard. It's hard for the art. It's hard for the breathing, and you know, try to hydrate yourself the best way you can, and there you go. You do your performance, and you do it. You know, and you stay hungry. You know, you stay hungry, almost like starving.
That's the best for you.
That's the best for me. I don't know.
Okay. So, do you have like a specific warm-up routine that you follow, and how has that changed through the years?
I don't have any warm-up. I sometimes I try to be, like I said, hydrated, but I don't do like voicing before or anything like that. And I discovered that, you know, the more you do it, the more there is shows, you know, like, because when it's time, when you have a long time period not singing, and then you sing, it's harder than if you have like 10 shows in a row. You know, you're gonna sing good because your diaphragm is more open. And when it's been a while, the first show is harder to reach those notes and to, you know, it's like the mouth, the jaw. I don't know what it's like, but it's like muscles. And I remember, you know, the first shows is harder, and then as you catch up, second shows is easier, third shows is easier. and so on. So it's just a matter of muscle, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but.
So obviously you've released like during your career a lot of albums with Voivod. Are there like some specific albums that you could pinpoint where you have felt yourself that you have taken like a step forward as a vocalist?
Well, I think every record with Voivod is different in the approach, and I think there's always involvement in what we do, also as musically, and like the last record, well, not the last one, but the one before Synchro Anarchy, the approach was different than the Wake. It was more raw in the approach, and not so much layer of vocals on the album, because we discovered during the pandemic we did some streaming live, and we figured out that we sound really good as a 4-piece, no extra guitar, no extra vocal. We sounded good as it is. And so the approach on Synchro Anarchy was like that. And so it's a different approach than the Wake, which was like, it took 3 years to build, you know, and with a lot of things going on. And so we always have a different approach, which is good. You know, we never really sit and say, oh, we're gonna go in that direction and stuff like that. So we're kind of like almost improvising all the time what we're gonna do, and we instinctively we know what is good. You know, we know that it fits for Voivod. We know that we have something, and there you go. It is, but in the past, you know, there was many steps forward. Like from Killing Tech was a big step forward, from Trash to more complex, more elaborated music. Dimension Atras, Nothing Face was a big step forward. Angel Rat was different, completely different. Some people didn't understand that album at first when it came out, but they discovered it later on as, this is a masterpiece, you know. And Auto Limit was really different as well, with a 17-minute songs, Jack Luminous, and so it's always a different approach, which is good. And cause some bands, when they found their formula, their winning formula, they keep on doing it, you know. They don't break boundaries, they just stick to what they.
But you've never been that bad.
No, we like to crush the
formula and do it again.
Yeah, we try to be inventing, you know, and we try to bring, because music is music. It's just like, it's out there. It's music. It's something really weird. It's like, it's out there in the space. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then with 4 brains, we managed to create something different, and it's fun for us. The approach is always like trying to bring something new in the ears of people, and that's the goal, you know.
So obviously you just released the 40th anniversary album, Work of the Tales. Did you do like anything differently with the vocals on this album?
It was different because it was a re-recording some of the classic or some of the songs that we did in the past, except for one cover song from PIL and one new song. But the rest of it, tried to recapture what was on the original record. And songs like Trashing Rage, which was on the second album, was really more screaming, and it was really tough to get back in that
redo
vibe.
It. Yeah.
And Condemned to the Gallows, which was the first song ever recorded. And funny things about that one was that we couldn't find the lyric sheet, and there was no. I checked on the internet. There was nothing,
Okay.
and I couldn't remember the lyrics, what it was all about, and the sound was so raw and so trash that I couldn't hear what I was singing, and then I said, "God damn it, what am I gonna do? You know, I don't have the lyrics for that song." And I asked my sister. I said, "Hey, can you check at Mom's place? Maybe she kept it somewhere." And my mom collect everything that we do, and she said, "Yeah, I'm gonna check with Mom." So she went to Mom's place, and then she goes like, "Yeah, I got it somewhere." And then there was a file thing, and she opened up. Took 2 minutes to find it. Here it is, the only sheet, on the entire planet of that song, with my left-handed thing all like. But yeah, thank God we found it, because we would have been screwed.
I have 2 questions left. The second last one is that what were your parents' reactions when they heard first time that you joined a metal band and started doing like more metal type of singing?
Well, at first when I decided to quit school and do that, I was like, 18 years old. My father was not so happy about it because, it's a risky business, and of course, as parents, they want the best for you, and it was a really risky approach in life to do music, and but my mother knew that I was some kind of an artist inside, because I was doing theater, act, and stuff like that. So, and even when I was young, I was doing like almost like I was dressing like a pirate or something. I was amusing all the family. So she knew that I had something artistically, and but my father was more like a logic guy, but he finally accepted, and he realized that, he has an artist side, and maybe that's the best way for him to go with to get do what he wants to do, and they accept it.
So, last question. Any kind of advice that you would like to give to a young metal vocalist who is just about to start their journey? Anything that comes into your mind?
Well, it's as anything. I think life is short. Do what you want to do. I mean, and sometimes it's hard. It's a really tough business. It's tough on every aspect of it, physically, and stay out of boozing and drugs and all that. That's really bad. And enjoy life every minute. And it's a fun place to be, because you travel a lot, you meet a lot of people, and it's metal in general. It's like a family, and every time we travel, we meet other bands member. Where we meet fans everywhere around the world, so it's like creating your own thing, and people respect that, and you're gonna get fans, and they're gonna get hooked on your thing, and it's a fun feeling inside. So just don't be too hard on yourself and enjoy life. This is really important,
Thanks a lot for this.
Thank you.